Today, we're diving into a silent health crisis that's been brewing in India. It's something that affects millions, but often gets overlooked. And, we're also going to look at how a new wave of tech might just be the answer. Let's get right into it.
All right, I want to start with just one number, 53.5%. Now, just hold that number in your head for a second, because behind this figure is a massive nationwide health challenge.
So what does that number mean? That's the percentage, more than half, of all adults over 45 in India who are living with some kind of musculoskeletal disorder. We're talking everything from arthritis to chronic back pain. And look, this isn't some minor inconvenience. It's the daily reality for a huge chunk of the population.
So, what does that percentage actually look like in real numbers? Well, we're talking about up to 292 million people. Let that sink in. 292 million. It's a number so big, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around it. But every single one of those represents a person dealing with pain, dealing with mobility issues every single day.
So, what's the fallout from a number that big? What does it mean for the country's healthcare system? Well, it means a system that is under some serious strain, what you could call an orthopedic overload.
And wow, the economic side of this is just as staggering. Right now, the market for orthopedic care in India is valued at almost 7,000 crore rupees. To put that in perspective for everyone, that's nearly $1 billion. So yeah, this isn't just a health issue. It's a massive economic sector, and it's under enormous pressure. And believe it or not, it's about to explode. I mean, look at these projections. By 2033, we're expecting that market to grow more than 5 times over, to more than 37,000 crore rupees. That's not a wave of demand, it's a tidal wave coming.
So, you might be asking, what's driving all this? Well, it's really a perfect storm of 3 key things. First, you've got an aging population. People are just living longer. Second, you have the modern-day issues of obesity and more sedentary lifestyles. Think desk jobs. And third, tragically, a rise in road accidents and other trauma cases. It's all these factors coming together at once.
So what's the result of all that demand? Well, get this. Over 5.67 million orthopedic surgeries are performed in India every single year. And you have to remember, each of those surgeries is just the start of a very long road to recovery. That puts a crazy amount of pressure on hospitals and clinics.
Okay, so we've seen the big national picture. But to really get a feel for what this looks like on the ground, let's zoom in. Let's take a look at a specific hotspot, Chennai. This is a city that's feeling the pressure, big time.
And even when you drill down to the local level, the numbers are just huge. I mean, Chennai alone is dealing with up to 250,000 rehab patients every year. But if you zoom out just a little to the whole state of Tamil Nadu, that number skyrockets to as high as 1.2 million. So it's clear, right? Chennai is a major hub, but this is a statewide problem.
But here's where it gets even trickier. There's a huge imbalance in where that care is happening. About 60% of all rehab takes place in cities, but only 20% of the actual rehab centers are in rural areas. Just think about that. It creates this massive gap in access for a huge part of the population.
And that gap, that really brings us to the heart of the problem. You see, the surgery itself is just step one. The real mountain to climb is what comes after. It's time for a reality check on rehabilitation.
Okay, this next number might be the most shocking one yet. 50%. That's the dropout rate for patients from traditional rehab programs. Let me say that again. Half the people who start this absolutely critical recovery process, they just don't finish it.
So why? Why are so many people dropping out? Well, it's a whole bunch of barriers all stacked up against them. The programs are often kind of one-size-fits-all. The clinics themselves are just overwhelmed with patients. For elderly folks or people in rural areas, just getting to an appointment is a huge challenge. And let's be honest, the exercises can be boring, monotonous. Oh, and on top of all of that, it's expensive. It's a system that in many ways is just set up for failure.
Which of course brings us to the big question. When you're facing all these huge systemic challenges, is there a way for technology to step in? How can tech help bridge this massive gap between a successful surgery and a full recovery?
Well, this is where things get interesting. This is where new technology is really trying to change the game. And to see how, let's look at one specific example of this trend, a solution called MoveEase XR.
So what exactly is this thing? Well, MoveEase XR is an app that uses something called extended reality, you'll see it as XR, to completely transform orthopedic rehab.
The easiest way to think about it is like having a physical therapist right in your pocket. One that makes your recovery program personalized, actually fun, and something you can do right from your own home.
And when you put the old way and the new way side by side, the difference is just night and day, right? Traditionally, rehab means you're stuck going to a clinic, doing the same repetitive drills over and over, and you don't really know how you're doing until your next appointment. But with an XR app, you can do it from home. It uses game-like tasks to keep you engaged, and you get immediate data-driven feedback on your progress. It's a total game changer.
So let's break that down a bit more. How does this tech actually transform the recovery process? Well, it pretty much attacks every single one of those barriers we talked about earlier. It can create personalized programs that adapt as you get better. It gives you remote access, which helps solve that urban-rural divide. It uses gamification to fight off boredom and keep people from dropping out. It gives doctors real-time data on how their patients are doing. And maybe most importantly, it helps the whole system scale, taking some of the pressure off those overcrowded clinics.
So, taking all that in, what does this actually mean for the future of healing? Let's try to put some numbers on the potential impact of this whole technological shift.
Okay, so first, let's just look at the baseline. Even without any new tech, the demand for rehab is already on track to grow by about 10 to 15% by 2030. That's just based on the trends we're already seeing, like the population getting older.
But here's the really cool part. Technology like Movies XR doesn't just meet the demand that's already there. It could actually grow the entire market. Think about it. By making rehab more accessible and more effective, it could add another 2 to 5% growth on top of everything else. It brings recovery into reach for people who were basically left behind before.
And at the end of the day, the goal of tech like this isn't just about making things more convenient. As one source puts it, the real aim here is to create a transformative healthcare tool that empowers patients and drives long-term wellness. It's about a fundamental change in care.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty big question to think about. As technology like this becomes more and more common, are we actually heading towards a future where healing is, well, more virtual than physical? It's a really profound shift to consider as we watch health and technology become more and more intertwined.